Willkommen zum Reinsurance Podcast, live aus Baden-Baden. Wir sind hier für die jährliche Rückversicherungskonferenz, wo sich führende Mitglieder der Branche versammeln, um über die neuesten Trends, Herausforderungen und Innovationen zu sprechen. Bleiben Sie dran für exklusive Einblicke direkt von der Konferenz. Welcome back to the Reinsurance Podcast here in Baden-Baden. Delighted to have with us Dean and Paul from Aon in a follow-up, in fact, to the Monte Carlo much sunnier edition with Paul Campbell. How are you both?
We're doing very well, thanks, Ben. Yeah, we're ducking in and out of the rain, and we're not on a yacht in Monte Carlo, but we're in the lovely Louvenbrough house here.
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
Definitely be worse.
Absolutely. And here, we're all here to talk about, I guess, the changing technology landscape that's around us, as well as how clients can achieve much better outcomes. What are your thoughts, I should ask, because you've seen the interview that we did in Monte Carlo with Paul. What were your thoughts on that interview? Did he do okay? No.
Yeah, he did a great job. He did a great job. And he did highlight some of the themes, really. And what we're talking about with clients a lot at the moment is profitable growth. You know, how do clients achieve profitable growth? And so certainly this year we're seeing a lot more companies coming to us to use our technology to get to this profitable growth, but to use data-driven decision making. So they're using our software to improve their decision making process, and we're seeing an upsurge in companies doing that this year.
Oh, really exciting. And could you give us, for those listeners not already aware, like what sort of software are we talking about?
So we've got a couple of bits of software. So we've got something called Rometrica, which is really great for risk and capital modelling. And we've got another tool called Tyche, the Tyche capital model, which also does capital modelling. And clients use them in similar ways, but actually the whole outcome is really to improve decision making about their business and improve that. And certainly from Paul's team, so my team, we implement the technology, but Paul's team to take that a bit further and work with our clients actuarially.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we do, as you talked to the other Paul about, is trying to help Aon's clients make better decisions around growth, managing the cycle. And you guys talked about the 7 traits that we've identified. And really, I think as you commented in that interview, they're the ways to just run an insurance company well, and things ebb and flow over time, but sort of some of the traits is pretty evergreen. So, have a good understanding of your risk appetite, have a good understanding of your strategy, have good speed of decision making so that you can react, know what's coming and try and react to it, have the right people in place. So a lot of them are they're not surprising things, but what we're trying to do, and we're really seeing here, is people really starting to lean into these as the cycle's turning and as they're trying to make their decisions, making sure they're getting these basics right, and then moving on forward with intention.
Yeah, it's really refreshing actually to hear you come at it from the angle of what do we actually want to achieve here, right? Because we are in an era where there's a lot of noise and excitement about AI, and can at times be a bit of a hammer looking for a nail unless you start with what do we actually want to get better at and why.
And that's exactly the point. And we have conversations with people about AI and how we can use AI, and we always sort of turn it back to, well, what do you want to do? There are certain lines of business where augmented underwriting, algorithmic underwriting will happen faster, and if you want to do those, then you should move faster, and if you are doing other things, you should move still quite fast but maybe a bit slower. So think about why you're doing what you're doing, and then implement a strategy that's going to get you there in a sensible way, but be sure about what you're doing first.
And I think actually you spoke about speed of making decisions, so being able to make decisions quickly, so being able to ingest that data quickly. So I think we've got 2 mutual clients actually, Ben, that use both of our software, both Rometrica and Tyche, and ingest data from Supercede. So this is the reinsurance treaties that they buy to protect them. They're ingesting that data from Supercede and putting it straight into Rometrica and Tyche. So getting to that decision making a lot quicker.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm sure really thrilled by how uptake of APIs is. Everyone's very excited about AI for the future, but right now APIs actually work and people can use them and systems talk to each other. It's amazing, isn't it?
And it's easy to do, right? But 10 years ago it was a complicated thing. You had to really hard code these things. But these days, the ability to transfer data between systems is much more seamless and much more achievable. So it's always good to see.
Definitely. And I was keen to ask you guys, because you have a broader perspective on this. I think here in Baden-Baden, everyone's counting down to 1-1, and that's sort of the finish line for a lot of people. But obviously all the work that we do carries on around the whole year. So how do you think about this, or how do you help clients think about it from beyond just getting a deal done, but pre-placement, post-placement, throughout the year? What sort of things are people using your tools for?
It's the point we touched on before, really, around having clarity of purpose and clarity of risk appetite. So obviously, people are here to do important deals that'll be really important for their business, and they're striking those deals around the tables in Baden-Baden here. But we're talking to people with, as you say, a slightly longer time horizon. And we're trying to basically explain to people that, again, something that's fairly obvious when you say it out loud, if you understand what your strategy is, if you understand what your risk appetite is, your risk tolerances are, and if you codify those into things that help you make those tactical decisions, then you know whether it's a reinsurance purchase, a retro purchase, or a business planning, or perhaps a reserve risk transfer, an LPT. You're always judging things by the same set of metrics, the same heuristics. And therefore, as you go through the year, when you come into next year's business planning, or when an event happens and you want to know how to react to it, you've got the confidence in your decision making. So that's the sort of perspective we try and take with people, to see beyond. Obviously, the short-term decisions are hugely important, and we live and die by them. But lift your eyes up, to the horizon a little bit, and see them in the context of your broader strategy. Where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? How do you have to change that in response to market trends and climate change and all of these things? Think with that, because otherwise it'd be too late to make some of those decisions.
Yeah.
And embedding that within the organisation is interesting. So, we can provide the software, does really good things, but actually enabling companies to use it and make decisions. So quite often we'll train up a management board of managers in a company, so they understand what the software is doing and how to challenge it and how to improve their business. And that's quite a key part. So it's not really a software part, but it's how do you use the software to improve your business.
That's it. We're very proud of our software, but our software is a tool to help you make decisions. And if you're not using it properly, and if you're not using it in a way, we talk to the team internally all the time, if you've done a really good piece of work, you've done a really complicated model, but if you don't explain it to your audience, you've wasted everybody's time. So how do you actually do that to use the software and use the consulting skills that we have at Aon to actually explain what you've done to the decision makers within your organisation, and then go on from there?
Makes complete sense. And I guess as you go and have those conversations here at Baden-Baden, what are the main themes that are coming out? What topics are resonating the most with this audience? What are they concerned about or interested in or excited about in Baden-Baden 2025?
I think when we've had the opportunity to speak to people who, as we say, they're obviously here to get their reinsurance placed, but where we're speaking to the sort of more senior exec levels who are taking that bigger view, they are thinking about managing the cycle. They are thinking about what they do next and how they continue to grow sufficiently profitably and manage their risk. As we sort of said, people are starting to think about using the tools that are available, but are perhaps more efficiently available now to not just think, we talk about capital models. Capital models is a bad name. They do way more than just calculate regulatory capital. So using them to actually make business decisions. And people, I think, are really engaging more with that, both in general, we're hearing a lot of that, but also around the tables these last few days, we're hearing more and more people being engaged in that conversation, where perhaps a couple of years ago they thought the capital modelling was a thing done by a team and once a year, but we're really starting to see the engagement with that at a senior level.
Yeah, certainly the best companies, the more profitable companies, are the ones who run their capital model regularly. So you see some of those more engaged companies running it 500, 600, 700 times a year, which is more than once a day, right?
Yeah.
But they're constantly analysing, understanding, what would this deal do? What if we bought this LPT? What happens if we did this treaty? What happened if we double our business in this area? These companies are constantly churning stuff through their capital models to help them to grow their business.
Yeah. That's super interesting and super exciting. Noting, Paul, that you're gradually getting soaked because we didn't invest in large enough umbrellas. I'll give you one final question. What are you most excited about personally, looking beyond Baden into 2026? What's exciting for you both?
I think for me, being within a big organisation like Aon, we get opportunity to talk to lots of very interesting clients. I'm going to echo a point Paul made with you, is, people come to us with their hardest problems, and they're the interesting ones to solve. So, working with more clients, engaging in the topics that we're good at, so the modelling, the sort of qualitative, the strategic advice, the market sizing, to answer these really important questions that really matter to people, and it really matters to the businesses to get these right. So just working with interesting people, solving interesting problems for me.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, this year we've taken on a couple of clients where capital modelling is quite new to them. So they're starting to figure things out and they're asking lots of questions, but you can see by next year they're going to be using it in a proper way. And that's quite cool, actually. And it's quite nice to see people coming from an infancy to then being mature in that area.
That's super exciting. Guys, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks very much.
Please
for having
do
us.
escape to somewhere drier than our balcony, and hopefully the sun will come out soon. But thanks again, and see you around the conference very soon.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.